Hello everyone, you are welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about virtual environments in Python. Virtual environments are isolated environments that contain their own Python interpreter, libraries, and packages. They are used to create isolated development environments for different Python projects. There are a number of reasons for virtual environment, which can also be referred to as VM. One, it allows you to have a different version of Python and different packages installed for different projects. This is especially important if you are working on multiple projects at the same time, or if your project require a different version of Python or different packages. For example, you can have a package compatibility issue. For example, you install NumPy version 1.20.22, but it conflicts with another package number and it requires you to install a lower version of NumPy. Now, instead of downgrading your NumPy to a lower version, you simply create a virtual environment and install that version of NumPy you require in your uh, project file, which is your parent directory. And then you can easily run your code without any conflict with the installed packages in your root directory. We have two packages that require different versions of the same package. Okay, you can either install each of the versions in its own virtual environment. This will prevent two versions of the package from conflicting with each other. So you see that in here, virtual environment makes life very easy for us. Now, we have been working all through the start of this course without paying attention to virtual environment, and the purpose is quite deliberate. The reason is I want you to master the concepts, and then as we go higher, before we dive into object-oriented programming and classes, then we can talk about virtualizing our environment. Lastly, they make deployment of projects easier. When you deploy a project, you can simply copy the virtual environment from the production server. This will ensure that all of the required packages are installed and configured correctly. So you can see that the concept of virtual environment is to make life easier for the developer and also make it much more convenient for you to deploy your codes after development. More so, there is another important usage of virtual environment. Virtual environment makes it easy for you to share your code even with users who have no Python installation and they can run your code successfully well without having the need to install the Python interpreter locally on their system. So you can see that the concept of virtual environment actually makes life much more easier for both the developer and the end user of your code. To create a virtual environment, you use the VM module. Okay, there is also the virtual M module, but I'll prefer you to use the VM module. To do this, you simply run the following command. You can run Python 3 minus M VM. Now, what minus M does there is that you are trying to instruct your local installation of Python interpreter, okay, to call the VM package or the VM module, okay, which is installed in your root directory. In some cases, instead of using Python 3, you can likewise use simply use this code, which is you just call your Python minus n, you call VM. Now, once you have done that, you've already what now created a virtual environment, okay, in the subfolder VM right inside your project directory. Mind you, to run this, you have to open a command prompt or window PowerShell, okay, or a terminal if you're using the Ubuntu OS, right inside your uh, project directory. I will show you, I will illustrate an example, okay, to show you how you can do that in the course of this video. Now, once you have done that, for you to install any Python package, you have to activate the virtual environment. To do that, in Windows, there's a different command to run, or if you're using the Ubuntu or Linux OS, there's also a different command to run. In Windows, you simply in that same terminal, okay, which is opened right inside your project folder. You call venv, okay, venv forward slash scripts forward slash activate, and then the virtual environment is activated. I will show you very shortly, and you're going to see it. Or in Linux, you or Ubuntu OS, you simply call source space VM backward slash bin backward slash activate, and then the virtual environment is activated for you to install any Python package. Once you have activated the virtual environment, you can install packages into it using pip. And then, for example, to install NumPy package, you will run the following command, like I've done earlier: pip install NumPy, or you can call Python -m pip install NumPy, pip install SciPy, and so on and so forth. Now, when you have finished working with your project, okay, on the command line, you simply deactivate the virtual environment and you run the simple command deactivate. What happens? The virtual environment is deactivated, and you will see in your command line that you actually exit the virtual environment subfolder, which is your project folder, down right into your parent folder. At that point, if you call the Python interpreter, your local installation Python interpreter is invoked. But while you are still inside the activated virtual environment, if you call the Python interpreter, what gets invoked is the interpreter in the virtual environment domiciled in your project folder. Sometimes when you run this command on the window PowerShell, you can get an error prompt. And so to solve that problem in the error prompt, I've just illustrated it here. You simply set the execution policy to remote signed. By default, Windows 10 and 11 has their execution policy not to be remote signed. Let me quickly show you how this works and how we can open a virtual environment and also configure a virtual environment. In this example, I'm using Windows 11 operating system, but the same goes with the Linux operating system because I actually have a second personal workstation which runs purely on Ubuntu OS. Okay, so let's dive straight. First, this is my working directory. Okay, I'm working right in USB drive E, messed up mentors, which is a subfolder in USB drive E. So right inside there, I have my project folder. This is my project folder. Okay, and I want to configure a virtual environment right inside this folder. It can be any folder, any project. Just give it any name. I just use the generic name, my projects. Okay, so what you do is to open this project. You can see the folder is empty. Okay, right click right inside the project, and then you see a drop down and you choose open in terminal. When you set open in terminal, look at what opens. You see the terminal is opened up. If you look right here, I hope you can see it. It's quite legible enough. You see PowerShell E referring to the USB drive, messed up mentors, my project, right? If I call ls here, it shows that it is what? Empty. So how do I create this virtual environment here? You type Python -m venv venv. I decided to name my virtual environment VM. You can name it my VM. You can name it anything, but it's much more easier to name it VM since it's a virtual environment. The Python -m VM calls the VM module or package in Python, okay, and then creates a subfolder virtual environment. You see that very shortly. The command is running. It takes some minutes to run. While it's doing that, I would also show you what's happening. You can see right inside this folder, a subfolder has already been created, known as VM. If you open this folder, you see what is the content. You see include, the lib, and the script. Okay, the activation script is right inside here in domiciled inside this subfolder. Likewise, the deactivation script. Let's go back to my VM. Let's check the command prompt. It's still running. I just wanted to finish. You wait a little bit. Now, yeah, now it's finished. Okay. If I call ls again, you see, it tells us we have a virtual environment. Right now, we have a virtual environment. How do we activate it? Just like I've said, in Windows, what do? Call VM because this now you notice that I am still inside my project folder. And VM now is a subfolder inside my project folder. So I call VM forward slash scripts, right? Forward slash, and then you do what? You activate. Okay, if you hit this, it is already activated. You now see prepended to PS is what is VM. Now, if I do pip, before I do pip install, let me show you what's happening. Right here now, I've activated this virtual environment. If I open the VM, you can see the activator called is domicile there. You can see my Python interpreter, okay? Python 3.1.exe has already been copied from my local drive onto this virtual environment. I do pip install, just install numpy. Hit enter. Okay, NumPy is collected. Installing NumPy, as you can see it's on the screen, it's collecting the packages. And then while it's doing that, let's move into here and check our lib. You see we have site packages. And open that here, we can see NumPy be already installed into, you can see running, still running, pulling down NumPy installation right inside this the virtual environment. It's still collecting the packages, running installation. Once it's true, I want to call the Python interpreter locally and then check if my NumPy is installed. You see, it's finished. And it says to upgrade my pip, run python.exe pip install dash dash upgrade pip. Okay, let's call the Python interpreter. I invoke the Python interpreter by simply calling Python. Right now, you can see it's Python 3.11.3. Let me import my package. I'll say import numpy as np. NumPy is imported. Let's check the version that we have, np dot version. In second, version, not cap lock, version 1.2.26.1. So I can exit a Python interpreter. I'm still right inside the virtual environment. Once I'm done with all, I can now proceed, open my IDE, write my codes, put in my modules, all I want to do in that project directory. Once I'm done, I simply deactivate the virtual environment by typing deactivate. I hit enter. Once you deactivate, you can see that we move back to what? To PS, the PowerShell, E forward slash messed up method forward slash my project. So this is how you can set up a virtual environment, activate the virtual environment, and then work within the project. If I come back thereafter and I still want to continue to work, okay, write my code and run my code with this virtual environment, all I simply need to do is to come back here again and activate, and then I move into my virtual environment. Once I'm done, I simply what? Deactivate again, and then I leave the virtual environment. So if once you share this folder, this project folder with any user who does not have the Python interpreter installed locally, he or she can easily run all the modules or codes that you have in that folder without having to bother with installing the Python interpreter locally on their system. Like this video, share this video. If you have any further questions that you want me to address, please leave it in the comment section. I will leave a link to the download of this notebook in the description section. If you are watching my video right now and you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please click the subscription button, and also do not forget to click the notification button to get notified whenever I upload new videos. I will see you in my next video. Bye.